the way they came up with it was the average size of a household in a single-family house. And that publication doesn't have any reduction or increase if you were doing a really small house, a very big house. You know, 2 bedrooms or 5, 6 bedrooms. Our zoning ordinance prior to 2017 just defined a basically in section 6 said you have to comply with what this publication says.
Yeah.
And section 2 said if you have and that section 6 is used primarily for subdivisions.
Yeah.
So any new subdivision would have to comply with that. Section 2 says a non-conforming lot is a lot of record that cannot comply with section 6,
Okay.
but can still get some kind of septic approval from the state, and then they're allowed to build 2 bedrooms. So in 2017, we added in section 6 that for the purposes of the size of a house on an already existing lot, if it's going to be a 3-bedroom house, you have to have 83% of what is required in this.
4-bedroom.
Well, no, it's for a house. SSS
Yeah,
and
but that's based on what?
On an average household of 3.2 people or something. Average household of a single
Yeah,
family house.
and when the state issues a permit, what are they issuing it for?
They do it on bedrooms, but,
Yeah,
but,
okay, so-
but SSN.
So the
does
state
not-
issues a 4-bedroom permit.
Or 3-bedroom.
Howdy.
The state doesn't use the SSS and the formula, so it's.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, and this was something the planning board did, in part at Burr's suggestion. There were a couple other changes in 2017 as well. But so prior to 2017, it basically was, the zoning ordinance was kind of silent on what you do
Yeah.
if you want to build 3-bedroom house.
Okay. Where's the 5th? Okay.
Really?
Sticker?
I made it.
Yeah.
We weren't going to start without you.
All right, 7:02. Let's see. Start to call the meeting to order. Roll call from the officers. I'm James Gleason, I'm here.
Oh, Huntley Allen, I'm here.
Okay.
You're gonna do that for Hank.
Oh,
David Mataski, I'm here. I'm not an officer.
Sir?
Oh, Dave Mason.
Well, you're not calling the roll, we have to,
You're asking us to call the roll, okay.
I'm Frank.
Frank Finish, okay, so
Dennis.
we're all here, we have a quorum. I'm just
So we
gonna-
keep track of who's in the audience.
And who's here?
Chris Meyer on behalf of the applicant.
Chris, you're from,
Cooper Cargill, Champion Attorney.
okay.
And with me here today is the applicants themselves and the owners. Ian Burke York from the engineering surveying company that's done work for the applicant owners.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that name.
Burke York.
Burke Eric. Oh. Okay, well,
You know, may not be understanding. I'm perfectly willing and comfortable to take off my mask if you understand me better. I'm
Yeah,
fully
yeah.
vaccinated and
As a matter of fact, the thing that was issued for this said that mask should be on except when somebody is speaking to
okay.
the board.
So if the board's comfortable, I'll take it off when I'm speaking and then.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice.
It's okay with me.
It's okay with
Fine with
you.
me. Only reason I got mine on is it says on the door, masks are required.
Okay, so we have the application from William O'Shea, Francis
If
O'Shea.
anybody objects, I'd like to put this on.
You're 6 feet away from everybody, but
Yeah, almost. We've all been vaccinated.
So this is application for variance for construction of a 3-bedroom home. Sugar Hill Lane, Sugar Hill subdivision, tax map V as in Victor, lot 8. And we do have,
V4 lot
so V4, lot 8,
8,
sorry.
Sugar Hill Road.
I got it written wrong. And we do have a public notice that was issued on May 12th, so that was in accord with everything we've got to do. We have your full application. Issued in the town. We've got the butters receipts here, so everybody that is required to know about it has responded. And it's on the town website. So, would you like to go through the application for us?
Certainly, sure. Again, my name's Chris Meyer, I'm from Cooper Cargill Chant, and I represent the owners applicants, and we're here on a variance application. And it's for the lot up off Sugar Hill Lane. Is everybody familiar with where that is up here? So the O'Shea's purchased this property in 2016 with the intent of putting a 3-bedroom house on it to move to at some point. The 3-bedroom is to benefit guests and relatives that would stay with them. As all of you likely know, well, at that point in time, there was a septic design that they bought the property with. As all of you know, in 2017, the ordinance was changed by the planning board to essentially decrease the amount of, or increase the amount of size necessary for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or 4-bedroom house in the town of Jackson. It was reduced from the 75% of area needed to 83% of the 4-bedroom house. The O'Shea's property is 77%. Their 3-bedroom house, they're looking to put it on a 1.9 acre property. It's a fairly significant piece of property. However, now with the increased density requirement, they are under that standard by essentially 5%. So translated to the acreage of the lot, that's about 0.9 acres. So the variance that we're looking for is 0.9 acres.
Just for clarification, Chris, they didn't apply for this septic permit.
Correct. It was the prior. It was the prior.
Somebody had it priorly, so they didn't get it in 2016.
It would have been before that. It expired. Correct. You know when it expired?
I think it was a 2016, August 2016 permit.
Yeah, the original plan was 2016, the prior owner. When they purchased it, they had a septic design for a 3-bedroom.
Uh-huh.
That 3-bedroom design will last 4 years. So in 2020, the clients went to the original septic designer, which was Amanuensis Survey, and they contacted them to have the design updated for themselves and put it in their name. And at that time, they found out that the minimum land area, which was stricter than, already stricter than NHDES standards, Jackson's standards, even back then was stricter.
Right.
They found out that they even increased it a little bit more. And so it went from meeting and exceeding at 101% of the lot, the minimum lot area, from the prior plan. And then the new one fell short of that because of because the increase was, fairly substantial again. So that's why in 2020, they found out that, the size wasn't, that they weren't gonna meet the size.
So you folks bought the lot, when, 2019 or 2020?
2016.
2016.
2016.
So the,
It was approved for a 3-bedroom house when.
right, I've got that. I'm just trying to understand when that was done. So the fella had the septic approved and then immediately sold the land.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the listing was, this is a
This
lot
is
that's
approved,
approved,
right.
its septic design's approved, we
Yeah.
bought it in reliance
Probably
upon
figured
that.
that would be a better thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned 1.9 acres, I think it's only 1.19.
1.19,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
if I misspoke, it's in the application correctly. So-
And just, I'm not sure it matters, but Jackson zoning, prior to 2017, did reference the SSN and any publication. It just didn't have any factor in the zoning ordinance as to what you do if you were building there's no adjustment for number of bedrooms. It was probably deficient in that, but.
Yeah, and then they changed that, I think they changed that publication in 2017 as well.
Yeah.
The SSN entity, it's 2003.
Okay, so
But
then it's, I guess it's just a change in the zoning.
Jackson changed
Jackson's
the way they
the only
expressed
person.
it.
we're already referring to that publication, it's just, I'm not sure why, but it was practice to apply a 75% factor if it's a 3-bedroom house, having nothing to do with zoning ordinance, it was just, that was the
That was
practice.
the practice,
And-
evidently.
So,
And then in 2017, the town actually codified that to avoid being a non-conforming lot, you have to comply with section 6, the minimum lot size. And if you want to do a 3-bedroom house, you have to have 83% of what the SSS and any publication calls for.
got it,
So
right.
I'd argue we just clarified things, but it did, obviously it did have the effect that it had on this septic plan and probably others.
Right, and well, I would think this is a fairly unique, I don't know whether it affects others, but I would think it's a fairly unique situation where the lot was sold on the basis of a pre-existing permit that was granted. It's in the listing agreement, they bought it on that basis. I'm betting there's not other lots that had come to you for a variance for that
No.
circumstance. And I think it fits in the variance criteria pretty well that the reason why they're now deficient based upon the change is something that's unique to the topography of the lot, both because of the soil that's on the lot and the slopes that you can't, there's a piece of the lot that you can't include based upon soil. So it actually, the variance criteria talks about unique characteristics about the lot. This has topography and soil characteristics that don't let you use the whole 1.19 acres for the
That's
criteria.
okay. And I'd argue that's not unusual in Jackson.
Yeah, but how many lots does that affect the ability to actually build? Because you're right at the criteria. You're between that 75 and 83.
Yeah.
Changed.
Has everybody read Chris's
Yes.
application?
Yes.
Okay. And it probably isn't really necessary, wouldn't you think, for Chris to go through
To go through the
I
litany.
agree.
the whole thing?
I don't like to bore everybody. I mean, the criteria.
Well, it's not boring, but it's just, you know.
If you've read it, I mean, we go
Yeah.
through each of the criteria in the memo, so it's no need to repeat.
A nice job on the application, by the way. I haven't seen many applications come in professionally prepared, and it's nice to see something that covers all the things that we need to have covered and covers them clearly, so.
I was just curious about the reference to the Chester Rock and Gun Club versus the town of Chester. I'm just,
That wasn't my case, but it's the seminal case on that public interest piece.
It's in that ZBA book too that you have.
Chester. I just, all right, so, do we wanna cut to the chase then?
I would think we could. Perhaps, well, how do you want to put it?
Well, unless we wanna go through the litany, we can just go item by item.
Yeah.
So, in the case of granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, without explaining all that. How does everybody here feel?
I don't feel it would be contrary to the public interest.
Nor do I.
You know,
I'm on the fence, but only because, we're only, I guess they're about 3,500 square feet short of what they need for a three-year design based on our current zoning, current minimum lot sizes. And that's not a lot.
Right.
So I think part of what's happening is we're inclined to say it's not a big change, but, and maybe this is for the future, I don't know where to draw the line on things that are close, or don't appear to have much impact on people, but might.
Yeah.
You could certainly argue this has a public health impact, but I understand who we are.
If it were sitting in the middle of, in the center of town, I might feel a little differently, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Well, you know, as they pointed out in the application, it exceeds
Yeah, it still
the
exceeds.
state requirements.
Exactly.
We have more strict requirements, because when we put that together, we wanted to, my recollection is, we wanted to avoid our 2-acre zoning, which we thought might be challenged as snob zoning, because there was no reason for it except we wanted you to have 2 acres. And they felt that putting this in would reduce density, and there was a reason for it, and that's why it was approached this way in the first place. We didn't have any problems with septic in town or stuff that had been built that wasn't working properly.
Yeah, no public health problem.
With the exception that over the years, all I can remember is a couple of commercial kitchens which had some problems, and they fixed it.
What's down slope?
sorry?
What's down slope from the, so we've got the house up here, and there's,
I believe it's conservation land, if
is-
I'm not mistaken. Is it?
Trees, trees, and more trees.
Yeah, it's woods.
Yeah.
No, no,
Well,
but I believe it's, may at least have a conservation easement.
I think it's an easement from Tilney.
okay, because I mean, there's one thing that's not identified here, is there's a dotted line as opposed to a dashed line along the,
It could also be the Peppers,
Yeah.
because
That's
their
right.
land comes right up there.
And
Yeah.
who's
Or
on-
the
who's on
place
the
that's
abutters?
tricky now.
yeah. No, the dotted line, so we've got all these dashed lines, so we got these here, we got the setbacks, everything's fine with that. But then there's this little dotted line that goes along the, I believe is, plan is doing it properly, on the western side, following the property line. Within, I'm just curious, I just wonder, because
There's a woods road there, is that what you're talking to? No?
nope, there's a road that goes through, and then all the way out here, about, I guess about 20 feet in, there's this, I'm just curious, the first question was, what's down slope? I mean, so what could it be affecting? Is there like an
I believe
aquifer down there?
that's a change in soil type.
Correct.
Is that what that is? Okay.
I
I just wondered what was down slope, because, I mean, if we're saying it's not gonna be in contrary to public interest, and there's something down slope that might be affected by the septic system, I just wanted to know, so.
So that's the dotted line you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that, by the county soils report, is the difference between 79C
Okay.
and
Okay,
716D
Yeah.
soils.
oh, okay.
That's just two different soil
I
types.
see it, okay.
Yep.
Okay,
And it's different slope too, isn't it, slightly?
It's slow.
By the county soils, you've got to change from D to C, correct?
Okay, I mean, my question about public interest, so I mean, if there was something down there that was draining into the, say, the local rivers. Okay. So, to finish the vote, I guess.
Do we vote on that?
Well,
Yes, I think
we're
we
just
did.
waiting, Frank was on the fence.
Frank was on the fence.
So we're gonna get a name from. Yeah. I'll vote. Yay. Alright. Spirit of the ordinance is observed. I guess the spirit of the ordinance was observed. I mean, I don't want to throw a wrench in things here, but, I mean, just because somebody bought a site that was previously approved, doesn't mean that it's our issue whether or not to,
I think the
Continue that?
spirit of the ordinance is
I think
observed.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the answers to both number one and number two are the same.
Yeah.
It basically has the same test.
If
You voted
if you
one-
say yes on number one, you say yes on
Yeah.
number two.
just want to make sure everybody's, so we got a,
And let's keep in mind that there was a 3-bedroom permit issued by the town. The town said it's okay.
Yep.
And then they decided, because it was difficult for them and they wanted more clarity, that they would put these things in the zoning ordinance that weren't there before, and they did. It didn't change the public safety considerations, really. It was almost an administrative, helpful thing that they did. And these folks bought a lot with a septic permit. Seems to me the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
okay, so, sir, yay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, I believe, I wish I could remember the comment, the town engineer looked at the property anyway, I believe, isn't
Well, he's the guy who approves the permit.
Yes,
he? Yeah.
and he denied this permit.
Oh, did he?
He approved the 2016 permit,
And he denied this
he
one
denied this permit.
because he had to. Because it wasn't big enough now.
Because and just so the board is, and just so that you understand, so in order for us to move forward, to be at this point,
Yeah,
we had to submit that knowing that he couldn't.
yes.
You know, we knew that we were just under that 100%, and because we were just a shade under, you know, he has to go by his regulations, so he said, okay, well, then that brings us here.
And actually, that
Seeking
remind-
relief.
I mean, we should, in doing this variance, not, what is the actual request? The variance from section 6?
Yes, it's,
Article
6.
615 and 617.
I think for the applicant's benefit, we should also, assuming we grant a variance, and granting a variance, we also make clear that the variance of that paragraph in section 6, insofar as it's necessary to get a septic approval, also should be viewed as granting a variance to section 2 on non-conforming lots. Because you need to be a non-conforming, this is right now a non-conforming lot, because it doesn't meet
section.
our current septic, current minimum lot size requirements. So when you write it up, I mean, unless you object,
No, that's,
I-
that's all right.
hate to get the septic approved and then not get a building permit.
Okay, so, moving along, so granting variance, item number 3, granting a variance would do substantial justice. I think some of these things are just so
I
close
believe it
to
will
each
do
other.
substantial
I
justice.
I vote yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 5.
Following reasons, values of surrounding properties would not be diminished. And that was the other concern I had, is like, what's happening downslope, and it's that it's conservation land, forever wild land. And I drove by there, and it doesn't really seem like that's gonna be an issue.
Certainly another house in there isn't gonna hurt anybody's property values.
So, in favor? Aye.
Yep.
Fine.
Okay. Good. Ayes across the board. And 5, or special conditions of property that distinguish it from other properties, denial of events which result in unnecessary hardship because A, the usual no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public, and I don't think there is one, so. And sub-item B, proposed use is reasonable because it's residential and is allowed by the ordinance, and that, I think, would go back to Frank, you with that non-conforming lot, section 2. Looks like we've decided about that. So, on item 5, Monsieur?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, and I'd like to make clear that at least in my view, what distinguishes this from other properties in the area, as Chris mentioned, is the owners purchased the property with an existing septic plan, and that plan has since lapsed during the period that we changed our zoning ordinance to possibly be more restrictive, depending on how one reads it. So it's a very unusual case. And if there are other 1-acre lots up there, maybe in Tyrol someplace,
Yeah.
that could have qualified in the prior to 2017 practice, and don't now, this set of circumstances would not apply to most of those unbuilt lots.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a
No, I guess
vacant, no, I'm agreeing with you, I'm just
Okay.
saying, if it was a vacant lot now, and somebody purchased it and went for a permit, they
And then it
wouldn't
would
be able
have
to
to
do
be
it.
a point.
But that's,
No,
but
but they
but-
purchased it with an existing septic
Oh, no,
design.
no, I'm
He's
just
saying if
saying-
they purchased it and it didn't have a septic permit,
that
then they would have to
that
meet
would, at
current
that,
requirements.
at that point, it wouldn't be a special condition, so, but this is, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
He's saying it a different way.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just trying to justify it to myself, that if somebody,
Yeah.
if there was another property that was vacant,
And
they
didn't-
wouldn't be able to, they would have to use the current permitting
Yes.
That's correct.
allowances, so, but not,
Okay.
there, okay. Sorry, I'm just.
Okay, does that do it?
Well, we have to do the final vote,
Yeah.
so, all the board members
All
in favor,
granting the variance?
say aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay.
Okay, so. 4-1.
there's a 30-day period where on the butter or somebody of interest or the selectman can challenge or ask for a rehearing on this. And there's also, well, not that recent anymore, but there's also a law that, if I remember correctly, you have 4 years to actually make use of this variance, otherwise it goes away. Chris will probably tell you exactly what that law is. But
There's a new statute.
don't wait another 4 years.
Yeah, there's a new statute as of last year. And I think, I haven't memorized it, but I think you've got to put it in your ordinance that the variances lapse if they don't go away, and I don't know if that's in your ordinance, but I will certainly look at it and advise them before we do it.
That's it,
It's new as of like last year.
yeah. Maybe something to find more to do.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you all for your time.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, board.
Sorry for the drama.
Again, nice application, all the information we needed.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank the board for your professionalism. You know, I go to a lot of different ZBA, you know, different boards here and there, and, you guys took everything into account and, spelled it right out for everybody clearly, so that was a good job.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.